In this video, we're going to focus a little bit more about report scope, in particular the option for host group selection. In this context, we're going to be using the out-of-the-box job summary template, and what we'll focus then in on is there's really four options for modification of your scope for host groups exposed in virtually any of the backup reports. So we talked about host groups in an earlier video, and you can see that the hierarchy of host groups is in fact a selectable mechanism. So in our environment, for example, we had scoped and created, we looked at the fact that NetBackup, that host group was created automatically, and we created a restricted host group that if we continue to open this up, we would be reminded that it was comprised of 3 actual hosts. So if I, rather than needing to go in and explicitly define those 3 hosts each time, I could simply choose to either click on that and drag it, or I can double click on it and bring that into scope. Now, a quick comment about this is these are additive by default. So when I have host group equals Veritas, which means the whole world, and then we've additionally clarified or qualified a Veritas restricted, this is really an OR condition. So in essence, we're going to get the whole world. So if our intention is to restrict ourselves to just a smaller subgroup, we'd want to go ahead and double click to take that out of scope and then make sure that we're just showing that host group. So what we've accomplished there without needing to go and explicitly name those 3 is to just have the members of that host group in scope. The next mechanism that's particularly supported around backup is that when we interrogate a master server, we know everything about that master server, including its clients and policies. So if I wanted to bring in and focus my report on just a particular master server, I could do it. You can see the backup server equals our master server of record in here. And again, if that's my goal, just remember to be careful about what's considered to be in scope, and then all of the clients and policies would be in play here. In the case where we've applied attributes, which we have at this point, very analogous to host groups is the ability to do to select attributes. So recall, for example, that we defined an attribute called fruit, and we had apples, bananas, and oranges, and of course each of those at any point in time had a list of objects that carried those attributes. So the point would be here, if I wanted to select where my host attribute was equal to apples or bananas, then I could do this, and you can see how attributes can be extremely powerful drivers for controlling a quick aggregation, focusing on particular client sets. And the fourth way that we have available to us for scoping hosts is really the host tab, and this is probably going to be most helpful to you in the case where you're on a call with a customer, or you've got auditors on site and they're doing work, and you would like them to be able to use the tool sort of dynamically, interactively. So we can search by any of the values that we see here, and one of the handiest would probably be to do like a name search, which can include wildcards. So if I thought that I might have some hosts that began with SQL, if I just hit the SQL and the asterisk, I can search and I would see those hosts come up. If I want to then select one or both of those, I can do that, or I could choose add all if I want to bring those in scope. And you can see again how we are in this case being additive to say run this as scoped. We would get any host with the attribute value for fruit of apple, any value of attribute fruit equal banana, as well as these 2 specific hosts. And that's scoping in detail. So you have much flexibility in there. As you can see, as these are built, we can go ahead and see that list. And then when we generate, we will see a slightly different header. Instead of saying a host group, we're going to see that it's got a scope of 2 host attributes and 2 hosts, and then we see our results as expected. And as always, we have the ability after initial generation to go back in and alter our scope. We can just click Edit Scope and we're returned back to this value. So for example, if I forgot to set my time frame to the desired duration, I can do that here. Expand, contract, etc.